Former Auburn wide receiver converted back to quarterback out of necessity, Sam Jackson V has been a massive blessing in Stillwater this season. Thankfully, the college football gods are giving us yet another blessing as Christmas has come early.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today, we are partially brought to you by Game Time Tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Meanwhile, we get to slide into the most exciting conversation of this point in the season, and that is Hauss Hejny. He is back at practice, and Hauss Hejny will be back for the Kansas State game. He could possibly return for KU, but he's played one game. If he plays the last 3 games of the season, he can maintain that red shirt. Then I don't think there's any disillusionment here. One of the primary reasons that Hauss Hejny would be doing this is to help Kevin Johns. He is primarily here because of Kevin Johns. Yes, he's been able to ingratiate himself with the university, with the fans, being on campus. He does like being an Oklahoma State Cowboy. And I think this is very evident because if he didn't want to return to Oklahoma State, if he didn't want to see Kevin Johns be successful, he would probably just kind of do the quote-unquote business thing and take the medical red shirt for the remainder of the year. But if Hauss Hejny does come back for K-State, UCF, and Iowa State, he still gets to keep that red shirt. And if Hauss Hejny puts up masterful performances, I know words are still hard for me, in any of those ball games, let alone all 3 of those ball games, then we easily could be talking about Kevin Johns making an appearance once again on the sidelines in Stillwater next season. In what capacity? Who knows? But I think that it's instrumental for Oklahoma State to identify the key contributors to who can be the building blocks moving forward. And I think all of us could agree that Hauss Hejny should be that guy. Hauss Hejny did enough in just a handful of snaps against UTM to keep himself at the top of the priority board when it comes to transfer portal quarterbacks. His elusivity is next level. His ability to extend the plays and get out of the pocket and create for himself, it creates naturally for all of the other wide receivers. The scramble drill is on a higher level when a quarterback has that level of ability. So even though Hauss has already done enough to keep himself as a high priority target, this is his opportunity to prove to not only Oklahoma State, but everybody in the country that, yeah, he is that guy. What we saw out of him early on against UTM, that was not a flash in the pan. He is the real deal. He has that gamer mentality. He brings that it factor that we haven't had since Spencer Sanders. He is a faster version of Spencer Sanders. He's more athletic than Spencer. You could make the argument that he's got a better ball, especially going against his body, than Spencer Sanders. He is that dude. And the beauty of all of this is we've been continually getting better. Since Mike Gundy has been let go as the head man, we've gotten better in different incremental areas. We haven't tied it all together yet, but we needed the defensive front 7 to get better, and then they turn around and produce 45 yards against Arizona. They've been much better in the run game even after the Arizona game. So the front 7 is getting better. Then you get DeSean Brown back, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. The offensive line. You lose a couple starters, and magically you're doing better with all of the backups. Shout out to Jacoby Sanders, another dude we'll talk about a little bit later. The Stillwater High guy getting his opportunity at the position that he hasn't even really been playing, at a position that he didn't even really play in high school, and he excelled at it. He performed very admirably against Cincinnati. If Hauss Hejny had this version of the offensive line, maybe he doesn't get injured. Maybe we're having a different conversation. Maybe if this version of the offensive line shows up and Hauss Hejny doesn't get hurt, then Mike Gundy is still the head coach on the sidelines. I think that there's a multitude of ways that you can look at this from a positive angle. Every aspect of Oklahoma State's team has improved in the last few weeks. The back end of the defense, yeah, it's a little problematic, but it makes it more difficult when the other defense doesn't have to respect all of the tools in the tool bag, especially the long ball. Our ability to drive the ball deep down the field has been hampered quite a lot this year. Hauss Hejny changes that. Hauss Hejny changes what a defense can and cannot do. Hauss Hejny changes every aspect of this Oklahoma State offense that is getting better. Rodney Fields just put up 163 yards. The offensive line is gelling. The running game is excelling. Sam Jackson V has more time in the pocket than both Hauss Hejny and Zane Flores were getting. So if you give Hauss Hejny that level of time where he doesn't always have to be creative and always have to be out of the pocket, this gives Oklahoma State an opportunity to be a viable threat for the last 3 games of the season. And again, he could be back for the KU game, probably. I mean, he's at practice now. His workload is increasing. But to my knowledge, if he were to play the KU game, that would take him out of that red shirt category. If he were to play the last 4 games, since he's already played 1 game, it would remove that red shirt capability. So to me, if he is getting healthier and he's ready to go by KU, if he wants to do it, and that seems to be the common consensus, this is a Hauss Hejny move. So even though he's only taken a handful of snaps, he's already approaching legendary status simply because there's no reason for Hauss Hejny to come back this season. There's no tangible reason that Hauss Hejny should be making this decision. If he were doing what was best for him in a business setting, he probably wouldn't be coming back. If he were doing what's best for him and his NIL and future transfer portal opportunities, he probably, again, would not be coming back. There's always going to be an aspect to him needing to put some film on display. But again, the business move for Hauss Hejny would be do not come back for a team that might not win a game the rest of the season. We might go 2 years without winning a conference game. Why would you come back for all of that? Because Hauss Hejny is a gamer. Hauss Hejny is that J.W. Walsh kind of guy that we've been starving for. We saw some of it out of Spencer, but this is a massive moment for Oklahoma State. We're still showing up in Boone Pickens Stadium. We're still supporting the team. We're still rocking with all of the players out there. We're loving the fact that we're getting this cowboy culture, blue collar, grab your lunch pail, go to work, go to war mentality that we're getting out of these guys. And now that we have a competent football team to some degree, if you add that layer of Hauss Hejny, to me, it eliminates the defense's ability to essentially pin their ears back. And that also gives our defense the ability to be in ball games for longer. Because if you go back to this Cincinnati game, the first 3 quarters were pretty good game. We had a serviceable performance. And then the fourth quarter got kind of crazy. That's because the depth and the inability for the offense to put up enough points and to stretch the field to give the defense enough time to breathe. That hasn't been happening for the most part. But once again, we're having this conversation of Oklahoma State getting better. Each week, you're seeing improvements. Each week, you're seeing more guys step up. And now we're starting to get some more guys healthy. Like DeSean Brown coming back, I think is big for Oklahoma State. Quentin Stewart has been a very important piece. Seeing Grayson Brousseau out there rocking with tight end, knowing that we're so limited on our numbers for the tight end position, it's amazing. Seeing Gage Staniland get in the ball game to take a unique role to help with the blocking has been a breath of fresh air. So now if you layer in the fact that Hauss Hejny is coming back, Oklahoma State should be able to count on one conference victory this season because everything is coming together. That's another piece of this. I would imagine that Hauss Hejny is watching the same thing we are. I'd imagine that he's sitting back saying, oh, this O-line's blocking better. This O-line is protecting better. They're opening more holes. This defensive front 7 is preventing guys from running all up and down the field. This defensive front 7 is creating enough havoc in the backfield to give us an opportunity. I might be the missing piece. And the fact that Hauss Hejny feels that way in a 1-win season is something that we will always be indebted to. We will always tip our cap to. So raise your glass to Hauss Hejny on maybe being the best example of that loyal and true, grab your lunch pail, blue collar, I'm not going to let this go ta-tas up the entire season kind of vibes. Remarkable. What an amazing young man. And we talked about it when he was on this program. If you're looking for marketability in NIL, he's the face of that program or that business or that company or whatever. Whether it be commercials or ads, he can do all of that And now we know he can play football. We always knew he had elite track speed. And that gamer's now coming out. The guy who potentially could bleed for Oklahoma State. This could be our guy, the guy that we're supposed to have for years to come simply because of this moment. Even if he doesn't beat K-State, UCF, or Iowa State, the fact that he's willing to put himself in this position, to me, shows exactly what kind of character he has. And that's the kind of character that made Oklahoma State so successful for 2 decades under Mike Gundy. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about movement, and Mazda is going to be able to help you with that. You can make every drive feel like an exhilarating experience if you're in the right vehicle. The smooth handling and intuitive controls crafted by Mazda means that you can do more than simply move. From the footwork to the breath work, Mazda brings the same intentionality to every single model that they craft. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel anything but regular. The all-wheel drive in almost every crossover SUV is important, so you can drive with confidence through almost every single season. So like our players that sweat every detail, so does Mazda. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Get with Mazda today, where you can move and be moved by Mazda. It's time to get your Peloton on, ladies and gentlemen. This is training reimagined just for you. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment, yet designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training that is reimagined. Peloton is the breakthrough that you've been looking for, with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. You're going to love the Peloton IQ system because it offers real-time strength coaching and actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The personalized class recommendations keep you engaged 24/7 and give you workouts tailored to your vibe, your energy, and your levels every single week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward by exploring the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus system today. Make sure that you head on over to onepeloton.com. Yes, sir. Now that Hauss Hejny is about to be back in the mix at Oklahoma State, the chaos of the bipolar Big 12 gets to stay alive, because if you take into consideration those pieces that we've been building, right? The first half against Baylor, and then you look at, obviously the first half against Cincinnati was a pretty good ball game. And even before that, defensively, what we were able to do for a couple quarters against Arizona, all impressive stuff. The one thing we have failed to do thus far is string together 4 quarters of impressive performances. We've done 1 quarter, we've done 2 quarters, we've done 3 quarters. So the next logical step is 4th quarter. But I do believe that Hauss Hejny is potentially going to be that X factor that allows us to take that next layer off and get a W in conference. So I don't necessarily believe that it's going to happen on the road against Texas Tech. I also don't necessarily believe that it's going to be on the road against KU, unless Hauss Hejny rolls the biggest dice of all time and comes back too early to where he loses his red shirt for a 2, 3, maybe 4 win max kind of season. But that's beside the point. The point is the Big 12 is already proven to be chaotic, right? That's the bipolar Big 12 is what we've been calling this thing for quite some time. This previous weekend, nothing changed. We saw Arizona State take down Texas Tech after Texas Tech did a bunch of hooting and hollering about the Big 12. But whenever you look at even BYU taking down Utah, having a freshman quarterback that has yet to have one of those freshman big mistake moments. The Cincinnati stuff, that is legitimate. They are an adequate ball club. You've got multiple NFL dudes on that team. So there's a lot of chaos already in the Big 12. Iowa State is still in contention. Kansas State is not necessarily in contention, but they're good enough to create some chaos along the way. Oklahoma State, if you factor in Hauss Hejny with the way that we've been playing, we're also going to create some chaos. That's my way of saying, whether it be Kansas State, UCF, or Iowa State, that is going to give us an opportunity to win one of those ball games. because K-State's not exactly killing it. Yeah, they've solidified things a little bit recently, but it's not the same level that we anticipated coming into the year. Iowa State is a very good ball club, coached by one of the best in the biz, but it's the last game of the season, and it's in Boone Pickens Stadium. And we have some retribution to get back for Iowa State because we've traveled to Ames multiple times when we're up for a national championship or up for a Big 12 title and drop games that we're not supposed to. So Iowa State has been a thorn in our side for years. They couldn't compete in the Big 12, yet they could occasionally pop up and beat us, which derailed part of our seasons. That has happened more than enough for us to finally be able to return the favor. I think that K-State is a very gettable team. I thought the same about UCF until they just absolutely hammered West Virginia. I know West Virginia is in a similar boat to Oklahoma State, and they're on a four-string kind of wide receiver thing or quarterback as well. I get that. But the Big 12 has been a chaotic conference, and there's still plenty of teams good enough to create even more chaos. Thankfully, now Oklahoma State will be able to factor into that mix. We haven't been in this role. This is new. This is new territory. We're usually on the other side of the coin. We're on the side of the coin of, well, we're competing for a Big 12 title. We're competing for a spot at a CFP or national championship, and Iowa State would pop up and create problems, or Kansas State would pop up and create problems. I mean, heck, whenever we were cruising and we felt so good after an Alan Bowman Bedlam victory, we go to UCF, we forget our rain equipment, and we get absolutely destroyed because of a multitude of factors. The weather obviously didn't help. So there's some get back there as well. The games between K-State and Oklahoma State, always and forever, are typically very close. We did this research a couple of years ago. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was something like 78% of Oklahoma State, Kansas State games over the last 50 years or something to that effect were one-score ball games. There has been a couple outliers here and there, of course, but by and large, no matter who's better, this game always goes down to the wire. Is Kansas State better than Oklahoma State at the moment? For sure. But does it mean that when you factor in Hauss Hejny that they're still that much better? I don't think so. So this is the beauty of it. One of those games is gettable. And we have reasons outside of just Hauss Hejny coming back to get some of those things done. Like I keep going back to. We go back and forth with K-State, so no matter who's better, it's typically a one-score, 10-point kind of ball game. UCF got us when we thought we were rolling pretty good, and it was in the bounce house, so there's still players on the roster that want to right that wrong. Then Iowa State has been probably the biggest Achilles heel to some of our biggest seasons in Oklahoma State history. So the poetic justice would be remarkable. And even better, yes, I know I predicted us to win like 9 games this season, and obviously I was wrong. But alongside that 9-win stuff, after the first week of the season, when Iowa State won overseas, I said that at the end of on the squad show that it's not going to matter because Iowa State's going to come to Stillwater, Oklahoma at the end of the season, the very last game of the year, with Big 12 title aspirations, and we were magically going to cut them down. I still feel that now if you factor in Hauss Hejny, that's a possibility. 9 wins, okay, I was crazy. I was drinking too much of the orange Kool-Aid, but it would be pretty cool if we did in fact beat Iowa State, so we can go back to that and at least say we got something right this season when it came to predictions, because it's been a rough one. It's been rough, but we're playing better. I appreciate the product. I appreciate the effort for 99% of the players that are on the football field. The Hauss Hejny news it's the icing on the cake. Game time is the bee's knees for all of your ticketing needs. Of course, you guys know that. We get to talk about it all the time, but college football season is here. And if you have somebody like Hauss Hejny coming back into the fold, you're going to want to get tickets because there's nothing better. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy, I don't think anything else compares. But sometimes getting tickets is an absolute catastrophe of a situation, whether it be the endless queues or the hidden fees or the prices changing randomly at checkout. That's why you got to use Game Time. the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you're going to pay. The app makes it super simplistic. You can even see the exact view from your seat before you purchase. You're going to love the zone deals too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you get to have the savings. It's the faster, cheaper, and less stressful way to get all of your tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create that account, redeem that code, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off. It's so simple that you swipe, tap, and go to download a Game Time tickets today. Last but not least, we get to talk about this family connection. DeSean Brown finally gets to come back from injury. What does he do? He goes out there and immediately gets a sack against Brendan Sorsby in a pretty adequate offensive line over at Cincinnati. Rodney Fields, second game back fully healthy. All he does is pop 163 yards on a defense that has guys like Dante Corleone that are definitely NFL dudes, and Galday's easily an NFL level dude. And then I think when you look at LaDanian Fields, his first opportunity of the year, well, actually his first opportunity ever really at Oklahoma State, and he just happens to score the only touchdown of the game with a pick six all the way back to the house. I think watching number 9 has been considerably better than watching number 10. Like, it's not even close. Unfortunately, to me, it doesn't appear as though those two dudes are in the same hemisphere when it comes to athletic abilities. And then this family connection. This is what Oklahoma State has prided themselves on for the better part of 2 decades plus. Mike Gundy has said several times, we do look for that family connection. It's like whenever you were able to get Tylan Wallace and Trayson Wallace as a package deal, that's a big deal. Talon Shetron, Tabor Shetron, package deal, massive ordeal. You're talking about Jacoby Sanders being a Stillwater, Oklahoma dude. Josh Ford being a Stillwater, Oklahoma dude. Those guys are probably going to put forth the most amount of effort because it does mean more to them. And I think that it, again, is accentuated by what we witnessed out of Jacoby Sanders this previous weekend against Cincinnati. He doesn't play guard. He probably hasn't played guard since like 8th grade. Yet, not only did he look serviceable, he looked good. The right side of that line look like the building blocks that we need moving forward. I know Austin Kweke is an older dude, but now we know that Jacoby Sanders can play guard. He can also slide back over to the position that he's been playing most of his life, which is center. And then you have Grant Segrin, the Nebraska transfer, the former defensive end, tight end, turned tackle, is excelling now. And there's a recent interview with Jacoby Sanders about the communication is already getting better, and they've only been doing it together cohesively for 1 week. Bob Schick is that veteran leadership experience on the other side of the line. Nuku Mafi. Nobody had Nuku Mafi starting as tackle this early on in his career on our bingo cards coming into the season because we were fairly aggressive in the transfer portal with our offensive line acquisitions. But we've had a couple injuries. We've had a couple guys that for whatever reason just did not pan out. And the third stringers are stepping up to the plate and performing very, very well. I think that when you're contemplating those building blocks, and I've seen people in the comments say we only need 8 players back, or we only need 10 players back, or if we lose 95% of this roster, it's a good thing. I understand the knee-jerk reaction there because of how downtrodden the Cowboys have been for 2 years in a row now. But I think no matter who the new coach is, if you do not have some of those cornerstone pieces, then whatever roster you build is going to mean significantly less. I'm not saying you have to have a bunch of Okies on this roster. I'm not saying you have to have a bunch of dudes that grew up dreaming of playing for Oklahoma State. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is if you do have some of those guys that care more about Oklahoma State than anything else, do they want to get what they're worth NIL-wise? For sure. But they want to earn it. Do they want to get opportunities? Absolutely, but they want to earn it. Those are the guys that Oklahoma State has made itself successful upon. Now you have LaDanian Fields getting opportunities and making the most of them. Then you have Rodney Fields. Of course, there's a family connection. making the most of his opportunities. And then you have DeSean Brown. Once again, another family connection right there, getting his moment whenever he does finally get healthy. Rodney Fields and DeSean Brown, when they do finally get their opportunities and are healthy, they're proving why they should be part of the building block pieces moving forward. I think you need to throw Jacoby Sanders in there. I think that you need to, look at Landon Dean as one of those guys. Gunnar Wilson's one of those dudes. Parker Robertson is one of those dudes. I know Parker and Kwecky, obviously outliers because they'll be moving on. But the rest of these individuals, Ike Etzenwoon, I think could be part of that conversation. Wendell Gregory seems to be doing better and ingratiating himself to Oklahoma State University. He could be a massive cog in the machine moving forward. My only point is, no matter who we bring in, I do not want to lose sight of who we are. Oklahoma State University is different. Stillwater, Oklahoma is not a place that is the easiest in the world to recruit. It's not as difficult as people make it out to be, but it's not the easiest thing, right? It's about being about your business. It's about being around the right kind of people. Steven Adams, the former Thunder Center that is now with Houston, he was talking the other day about what makes Oklahoma so special, and he said it's the people, right? Whenever you get to Oklahoma City, Stillwater, whatever, you realize that there's not really much to do. But the people make the experience so much better than anywhere else you can physically possibly go. And to me, Oklahoma State embodies that more than anybody else, more than OU, more than Tulsa, more than anybody else in the state, because of this family connection thing, right? We got Braden Presley, who's still seemingly on board because of Brennan Presley. And maybe potentially someday we can get Braylon Presley back into the fold. The Cam Smith and his brother being here. I think those are the things that made Oklahoma State who we are and what we are. So as much as I'm excited about the donors and this new hiring agency taking massive swings and offering ridiculous amounts of money, like upper echelon money, I appreciate all of it. But I do not want us to lose sight of these dudes, because these dudes are the ones making the biggest difference on the field right now. And I don't think that there's any question that the family dynamic is why they're so successful, because they care more about something other than the next paycheck or the next university. Because even though they're family connected, Rodney and LaDanian, DeSean, they still care more about Oklahoma State than anything else. And if we lose sight of that, I think that we could be having a conversation about losing a lot of football games in the future. So whomever we bring in next, I hope that they're aware that recruiting to Oklahoma State is a little bit different. It's not impossible, because you can sales pitch the people, the place, and the fact that if you're coming here to be a professional, doing it in Oklahoma State, in Stillwater, America, is pretty easy to do. We have a proven track record of that. If you're coming for the city life, this is not the right spot. But if you're coming to be about your business because of the family connections and the cowboy culture that has been established, then we've got a spot for you. I hope we don't lose sight of that, because the guys contributing right now and playing the best are those old school, loyal and true, cowboy culture, family connected individuals, ironically, from the state of Oklahoma. All right, y'all. That's all we're going to have for this one, Rye here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked on Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe my podcast. And people out there, you are everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. So go do what you do while I fumble around my words for the umpteenth time. And hit the stars, leave some reviews. All right, y'all. You know the drill. Later, taters.